My pathway into the field was really probably different from most people who become actual workers. And as I've said to Jordan many times, I, over the years, have met oncology social workers, and I have so much admiration for them and what they do every day that I think I just wanted my research to try to help them. So I don't feel like I have the courage and the personal strength really to do what you guys do, just to walk in the room and to be there for somebody who's maybe hearing bad news or dealing with pain and symptoms and sometimes disappointing results. I just found that, well, I'll tell you a story from a long time before I actually did any research in this field. But way back in the mid-'70s, I was part of a program at Johns Hopkins where we were going to train a very idealistic idea of a new kind of a health practitioner. And I was hired to be the psychosocial, carry the psychosocial component of the teaching. And the very first day I went into the hospital with a group of students, and we're all standing in the hallway, and right before we go, so it's like me and a doctor and maybe 3 or 4 students, and we're standing in the hallway, and some other doctor who's showing us around says, okay, now we're going to go into this room and see Mrs. So-and-so, and she has breast cancer. And of course, these were back in the days where there weren't really treatments, so when somebody got it, it was pretty far advanced, and they said, you know, it's metastasized, but she doesn't know what she has. So here we go, we'll do a physical and history and physical. So everybody walked into the room, and I don't really know what happened, but the next thing I knew, I was sitting in a chair with this nice little student nurse who was patting my hand and giving me orange juice.
Oh, no.
I passed out. I just found the idea of walking in with this little piece of knowledge about this person, a human being, who didn't even know what we knew more than she did.
Right.
It was just overwhelming. And I think I just realized that I was not cut out to be the person who could walk in that room and be there for somebody.
So I work in a very busy lung cancer program. And one of the most fun things I've done in the last few years is I took a bunch of patients to a virtual Hill visit in Washington, D.C., where we talked to our senators and representatives and Congress people about the need to increase lung cancer funding. The federal government does have lung cancer funding out of the Department of Defense. A lot of military people get lung cancer. So it was just a wonderful experience. And I've taken them on walks. I've raised, for research as part, like the whole gamut. I always wanted to be a medical social worker. Once I decided social work, I wanted the medicine part of it. And I was thrilled to get into a hospital, and hospitals are such wonderful places to work because it's life and death every day, and it's a wide variety of choices. Oncology is such a huge part of medicine that you can't avoid it, right? So even if you're not an oncology social worker, if you're working in medicine, it's around you and you get a feel for it. So this has been a thread. I've been a social worker for 35 years. This is my first day. I worked in general medicine. It was I had oncology patients, and this is the first time ever I've been an oncology social worker, just in an oncology program. And it's really wonderful because I can really focus on a particular segment of the population and delve into it in a very particular way. So I'd only been at the job a few weeks, and my manager told me about AOSW, which is the sign of a great manager. You give the staff the tools they need to do the job. So he told me within me being a few days of there, and then offered me the opportunity to go to the Denver conference. And I was just so touched because here I was a newbie, right, in this department, and he was letting me go.
First psychosocial oncology program in San Antonio. And she was really connected to AOSW for evidence-based data. And I think it was her introduction to AOSW to say, look, as you start your professional career, this is the go-to place for standards and for excellence. And literally on her deathbed, she would call me, Nikki, and I would say, oh, here she goes. She wanted me to promise that I would take over the psychosocial oncology coordinator position for her when she died. And I had just had a baby. And so I was really struggling with whether or not I could emotionally take that on. But she had all the confidence in the world, and I told her, she pulled out the death card. So, you know, if you ask somebody on their deathbed, of course I said yes. But she saw something in me that maybe I didn't quite see myself. And I took over that position, and my whole career has been blessed because of it. I've had a bone marrow transplant, blood cancer.
I'm from Indianapolis. I work at St. Francis Hospital on the south side. And I work on the bone marrow transplant unit. And so I am inpatient and outpatient. We're pretty small, but we're growing. And it seems like this year, despite all the COVID stuff, we have really been growing. So I've been a social worker for over 30 years. And I started off working with head injury, traumatic brain injury. I did that for 10 years. And my dad, so it's kind of a con, my dad had a brain tumor when I was growing up. And so I saw a lot of the effects of the brain tumor on him. And back then, there just really wasn't any education. We didn't get hospice. We're in a small town, you know, it was really hard. I remember, you know, my dad started losing function in different limbs, and like mom was home with him and she got no help, you know, and finally we had to put him, we had a real small hospital. The hospital in our town had 25 people, 25 beds.
Wow.
It was the smallest hospital in the state. So he went there, that's where he passed away. But she couldn't take care of him. So it just ended up in that situation, and it wasn't really hospice. So I was really interested in head injury, and I worked with that for 10 years. And then slowly this came up. I thought, well, I'd really like to try this. I'd had some experiences also, you know, a long time ago that made me want to, you know, do better, you know, and try to do some things.
I first heard about AOSW when I was in my doctoral program, and it was in the dark ages in 1990. I first heard about it in 1992, and then joined in 1994. I went to my first conference and had my first abstract, did a poster, and it was the sort of like the proposal that I was going to do for my dissertation. So it started when I was just short of 13 and a half years old, when my mother died of breast cancer. And this was in 1971, so it was before hospice was in the United States, but she died at home with nursing care. We had a neighbor down the street who was a nurse. Her doctor decided he would do home visits and take care for her at home. The pharmacist lived up the street. So we had all these services that were not necessarily available to other people. And I remember thinking many times while she was sick for 15 months before she died, was everyone dies, but no one has been helping us figure out what we're going to do. But I realized that I could help 20 people a day, but that wasn't enough. So I went back and decided to get my PhD. So then I could teach other people to go out and help 20 people a day.
Thank you so much for this. My membership in AOSW started in 1994. And over the years, my AOSW colleagues have offered me the support, mentorship, and training that has helped me develop my skills and expertise in oncology social work. Over the last 10 years, AOSW has provided me with a forum to encourage social workers to support the spiritual lives of the patients we serve, and to acknowledge the role of spirituality in sustaining our own well-being as healthcare professionals. Most importantly, through AOSW, I have had the opportunity and privilege to meet some of the most talented, passionate, and dedicated professionals I have ever known. I could not be more humbled by this great honor. My eternal gratitude is extended to those who nominated me, and to the mentors and colleagues of AOSW who have seen and supported something in me before I can see and believe it in myself.
That was awesome. I don't know if you saw me put my hand over my mouth, but I was like, I might cry.
Oh my God. But I find that the work as an oncology social worker is deeply spiritual. And it struck me that way. Well, we're talking about life and death, even in the circumstances where people do beautifully and are cured, and just being diagnosed with something that is potentially life-threatening, that is associated with end of life. Again, even if that's not the individual's particular course, brings those kinds of existential issues up to the fore. I knew that it was the creme de la creme of oncology social work, even way back when. And I was very eager to belong to the organization, to the association, and have made remarkable lifelong friendships have been mentored throughout for all of these decades. It just startles me to, have had so much time in the field already. So that's just amazing. So the conversations about, oh my gosh, my life is precious to me, I may lose it. What's most important to me? Who are the people I love? What do I love to do? I mean, those are the conversations that we are privileged to have with our patients, and that we can also, and need to, I think, to enrich the work for ourselves, need to have amongst ourselves. So that's the essence of what oncology social work is thrilling to me.